There's something ministers say in our movement that our job is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable. You're going to be experiencing a little bit of that today. Many months ago, I think it was probably last March, April, in there somewhere, I said that we would never be the same like we were before this pandemic, that things were going to change. We didn't know how, we didn't know what, but that it wasn't going to ever be like it was before. And that, you can look at that both ways. You could say, well, that's great, I'm ready to change, that's good stuff. Or you could say, no, leave me alone, stop it, go away. I like it the way it was. You see, we have this amazing ability to live our lives, to be the captains of our ship and to make that work, but we cannot tell the rest of the world what to do. Some people are trying, but they're failing miserably for the most part. So what I wanted to do, or what I did this week, was I did some research, and I looked at what kind of predictions are emerging from all of this. What do the experts that study such things say are going to happen, and really are, in some cases, are already happening? And I made me a nice long list, which I'm going to share with you now. Well, that's all right. Doesn't matter. I thought I put another slide in there, but we'll just leave it there. So, where are we going to start here? We're going to start with the workforce. Here are some of the predictions about working. Corporate cultures will become more challenging to express because people are working remotely. How do you have a culture of people that are all over the place rather than in one location? So businesses are trying to figure out how to do that. Organizational missions and values will be challenging to commit to and to reinforce. Nobody knows how to do that. And this idea of people working remotely is largely going to stay and going to keep impacting aspects of our culture. Measuring organizational efficacy may become even more elusive. Companies will become much more invasive into employees' personal lives by requiring them to listen to this, requiring them to wear health and location monitoring devices. You laugh, but that's a little creepy. Employers will also use digital surveillance technology to confirm remote employees are actually working. Remote business meetings will become the norm, which means that things like Skype and Zoom will become even more sophisticated as time goes on. You will likely have more contact with your physician via your phone than you will being in front of them. That's already started in a lot of ways. And air travel and hotels are going to be in trouble because nobody's going to business meetings anymore. Amazing. Massive amounts of office space will continue to be unoccupied in central business districts of our largest cities. How these properties will be repurposed is unclear because big city urban dwellers are also moving en masse to smaller cities and suburbia. There's this migration going on. It's impacting Asheville. How people are employed and compensated is changing radically. Have you heard about the gig economy? The gig economy. What that is that people will no longer have jobs, positions. They'll have tasks that they get paid for. It's a gig. It lasts however long it lasts, and you move on. Wow, very different. People will be responsible for paying their own taxes because not everybody, but a lot of people that have never done it before will be, what do they call them, contractors? Independent contractors. Companies will discontinue offering employees health care insurance. The insurance industry is in question. Technical innovations will eliminate millions of jobs by utilizing robotics, drones, and other types of automated systems. Boy, you should feel the energy in the room from here. Amazon is already planning to totally automate their distribution centers and have driverless delivery vehicles. That's so many jobs. Here's one that fascinated me. movie productions will start testing lifelike advanced technology imaging, which may cease having high-paid actors in the movies we watch. I mean, you remember Avatar, all the big blue people? But what if they just did that animation with regular-looking humans? Why would they need to pay Tom Cruise? Fascinating. Online fraud will continue to increasingly impact millions of people every year. Here's a short list. I saw the long list. It just went on and on. A short list of scams that you might experience. Home theft by accessing your home's title online. Fraudulent facial recognition to access personal credit accounts and to make trouble for people. Bank account takeover fraud. Sophisticated phishing scams, online charity fraud, fake online auctions, investment fraud. I heard Airbnb is having this happen where people are copying them and taking people's money, and then they go on vacation and there's nothing there. I know. Tech giants, marketing dominance will likely give way to smaller decentralized platforms. This is interesting. Local retailers are getting that if they band together like an online mall, that they can sell things a lot better than they can being in a physical mall. And they can actually compete with Amazon that way. So that's something that may well take on. Governments are taking actions that 3 months ago seemed impossible. Here's 3 European governments and what they're doing. Spain has nationalized all the private hospitals in their country. That means the government took them over. In Great Britain, the prospect of nationalizing various modes of transportation has become very real. And France has stated its readiness to nationalize large businesses. That means the auto industry in France and other major industries. Whew. Masks will be a permanent presence in our culture. In fact, all over the world, people will continue wearing masks. And even though I shook 3 people's hands this morning, they say that handshaking is just going to go away, and they don't really know what it'll be replaced by. I don't want to even think about hugs. Now for the weird stuff. Here's the weird stuff. Economic uncertainty will reign supreme well into the future. To rein in black markets and underground economy activity, the U.S. and other governments around the world may discontinue the use of monetary currency. They're really talking about this. What they would do is be creating a cashless society where the government can monitor everything that you spend. I know. That's weird. Boy, I didn't think the energy was going to go any lower in this room. Because you're thinking, wow, what does that mean? How does that change everything? It changes it a lot. And here's the other one. UBI, Universal Basic Income, may well become a reality. Universal Basic Income, which means the government is just going to make money and send it to you. And as they do that, inflation is going to skyrocket because it has to balance all of that money that's around. And don't think that's not a real thing. It's actually being introduced next week in a bill in the House of Representatives. That's some weird stuff. I have a little bit of better news. Mental agility and flexibility amid rapid change will define a personal success. So your ability to deal with all these changes and act in a way that is effective is going to determine how successful you are in your life. That's an interesting thought. People will be seeking greater connection because we've all been pent up for so long now. Here's some ideas around that. As fears die down, people will crave greater personal interaction. Being in community that focuses on diversity and inclusion will become a priority for more and more people, and desire for deeper spiritual understanding will grow. Take a breath and let it go. I knew things were going to change, and they are. And we don't have the ability within us to avoid those changes. We just have to adapt. We have to learn how to deal with that. We have to learn and remember who we are amidst all of this. So my way of confronting this in my life and what I offer to you are some ways that Well, most people would call that what you would do is coping strategies. But coping seems like a pretty low game. How about thriving strategies? How can we thrive in the midst of all this craziness and instantaneous change and unexpected stuff? How can we thrive amidst that? So I came up with 6 things I'm going to throw by you here really quick because we don't have a lot of time. But we're going to start on that. Post-pandemic thriving skills. 1, let go of expectations that anything should ever remain the same. Anything. Anything can change. If you're going to have expectations, expect things to change. And when they change, expect them to change again. And they will. I have never had a problem with having expectations. I think it's an important part of the creative process. But if you get attached to your expectations, you will end up being disappointed. So don't. Carry your expectations very loosely. And when things don't work out that way, or something shifts, or you see something in the news that is totally contrary to what you were expecting, go with it. Just go with it. If we don't, we're going to spend all our time being pissed and struggling and being confused and being anxious, and that will not get us anywhere. So the idea is to be free and almost to the point of just don't care. Just go with it and let it be, because we'll find our way. I know many people have struggled with some of the things that are happening in our culture over the last year, the riots and the lawlessness and things like that. It's all going to change again. It'll all shift. It always does. Expectations out the window. 2, be gentle with yourself, because all of this change takes some time to adapt to. And when you don't do it quickly enough, or you act in some regard that really didn't work out because things are different, if you have to do things over a few times, don't get on yourself. Don't feel like you failed. Be gentle. Be kind to yourself. And you can't be kind to others until you're kind to yourself. So in the midst of all this stuff that's going on in our culture, be kind to you. You deserve it. And you won't do better by being rigid with yourself, by being self-judgmental, by finding that things aren't working. Because what many people do in that regard is they go unconscious and they blame something else. And blaming something else is just giving your power away, so don't do that either. Just know that we're going to get through this. And when it gets hard, let it be okay. Let it be okay. Remember the difference between inconveniences and real challenges. This is important because a lot of times we think these things that are inconveniences are the big deal in our life, and they're not. They're not. Masks are simply an inconvenience. As much as I don't care for wearing masks, it's an inconvenience. It's not a life-changing challenge. Inflation, it's coming. You're going to pay more for things. It's an inconvenience. Nobody wants to pay more for things, but that's part of what's happening. So let it be okay. What else did I want to say about that? I want to say the interruptions, distractions, delays, all of that is simply inconvenience. You want to talk about challenges? War, famine, death. Those are challenges. So be gentle on what's coming at you, knowing that most of it takes a little extra effort, isn't all that pleasant, but you're still going to get through it. Be kind to those around you no matter what's coming at you. And a lot of times, everyone's frustrated. Not everyone, but a lot of people out in the world are anxious and frustrated and afraid. And they're taking it out on anybody they can. It happens in traffic. I actually talked to a colleague out in California. He said that he was wearing a mask in a store and somebody came and accosted him because it happened to be a place that was apparently thinking that they didn't want to keep wearing masks, and somebody actually got on him about that. No, what for? What's the point of that? So people are going to do that kind of stuff. From time to time, things are going to happen. Somebody's going to be in your face. Somebody's going to beat their horn excessively at you. Let it go. Just know that they're doing the best they can. And so are you. And just recognizing that is going to make life a little more gentle. Look at your life as an unfolding story with subplots. COVID is a subplot. It is not your life. And it will not always be here. You know, when you watch a movie or read a book, things happen, and that's the nature of the book. There has to be some struggle there to make the book interesting. And when the villain is suddenly trying to get the hero's love interest, that's not going to continue. Something that's going to work out somehow. And everything in your life is going to work out. So when these hard things like COVID come along, it's just a subplot. It's not your life. It's not what's really the most important thing. And your job, of course, is to adapt to it so that we can keep moving. And that applies very much to the last one, which says, remember that everything in your life is calling you to know who you are. I've told you this many times, and it's still true. We take things personal sometimes. It's not personal. You have come to this planet at this time to do specific things, to be a specific way, to bring a light to the world that no one else can bring, like only you can. That's what's important, to remember that, and to not ever play the victim, to not ever fall into the abyss of all is lost, to remember that we're getting through this, it's working out. All is well. We don't have to wait to feel happy. We can feel happy today, right in the midst of all that's happening around the world. And all is well, because still the only thing that's anywhere is God. That's the truth. And with that, I leave you with the way we get together. I love you very much. Thank you for your kind attention. All right.